How are you? Thank you for the introduction. I also want to make sure that everyone can hear me loud and clear.
Coming through very nicely.
Brad, as you know, we got a hell of a show today.
Well, it's interesting. I heard, Scott kind of introduced this as entertainment, and while, gosh, I always hope it's entertaining. Hopefully, it's informative too. So,
Well, I think they come together. The way that you get the most value out of something is if you can not only listen and hear, but you need to be emotionally attached a little bit. So let's everybody sit down on the couch and get our heads shrunk at the Trade Ideas Q&A webinar. As we all know, before we get started, Brad, should you get excited about something that I'm saying at this webinar, please know that I am not a registered investment advisor. So the things that I'm going to be telling you and the audience should be construed for informational purposes, educational purposes, not construed as actual investment advice. Brad, are you okay with that?
absolutely. We don't know everybody's account size and everybody's personal situation, so you really do have to seek out some professional investment advice for that. We're just going to show you some great software today.
And this software does help with the whole investing thing, of course. Brad sometimes gets so excited when I do these webinars that I feel he's right on that edge of doing something. That's why I'm directing it to you personally, Brad. Make sure you know it's for your education. Okay, so we've talked about this slide before. Brad, trading can be right of your life. This guy is writing it very well. He looks like he knows what he's doing, and when that happens, there's nothing greater. That's why this slide is picturing the sunset, and it's all things that are good. But it's foolish for us to assume that's the only way that the water presents itself, because if it did, of course, everybody would be out surfing all the time. That's not the case. Sometimes the water can be kind of choppy. Brad, would you want to jump in there and get your board all dialed in?
Yeah, that doesn't look like my idea of a good time, but you're exactly right. I mean, some days it's just a mess out there in the market and in the water.
So that's why today I really wanted to kind of talk about the psychological aspect of how we use our technology to help ourselves kind of become more efficient. One of the challenges we face as investors is that in the markets, it's not as easy to see if this wave looks like this or if this wave looks like that. That's kind of, Brad, the issue. We're going to address that, and we're going to address relativity about how to perceive things and how to really get the most out of our software. So I'm going to minimize this. We're going to come back to some of the elements, and I'm going to jump right into Trade Ideas Pro. It's been kind of a crazy market there, Brad, wouldn't you say? A little bit, unusual in terms of behavior.
Well, I think it's indicative of, when you have something breaking out, right? It's not always that easy. It's not always just moving ahead at full steam.
That's right. It tests you. And again, I want to go back to if the market was super easy for every single person, well, of course, everyone would already be doing it. If you think about today in the grand scheme of things, it's really just a blip on an otherwise very nice upward move, and we're making new highs. But again, everything is relative. It's how was your P&L today? Did you initiate positions today? When everybody talks about the market, I think that the relativity aspect often gets forgotten. Everyone discusses the S&P and what would have happened if you would have done this for 10 years and this for 20 years. And it's just so silly because, again, none of those things can actually come true, whereas the reality of the investing day and the reality of the trading days, we come in there and everybody here is either very interested in investing actively or are already, as most likely, our customers and are investing actively. So the question then comes, how do we figure it out? So I want to talk a little bit about something that caught me today and how I want to help you resolve this problem on your own. So this stock, SKLN, Brad, was a stock that one of our strategies had suggested that we get into. Okay, and I happen to have actually bought it. Not exactly at, I think 410. The breakout was the entry, and I bought it like just under like just this, like right here, 490 or something, thinking that it was going to continue because we've seen some very interesting behavior of stocks, especially in the medical space, where sometimes they can go up, 100, 200% in a single day. And one of the ways that we know that is looking at the float. So in this case, Skyline Medical has only a $3.7 million float. So if something really happens, it could go. So I got in here, and then I did something, Brad, that we tell everybody not to do. But I want to say that I, as somebody who's been in here forever, and here, just let me pop this back in real quick. Hold on. This is me, for anybody that doesn't know. I've been doing investing for myself since 1995 here. I'm already pretty good at it a year in, and the market was incredible, and again, lots of opportunities. So I know what I'm doing. But just like Tiger Woods or any professional, you can have something where it's off. I ended up buying my 1,000 shares and then walking away to talk to my wife. And by the way, that's not the part that is bad, but the part that I didn't put in, usually whenever I do that, I put in my own exit. So the software got in, very quickly told me to exit at like losing 28 cents. I didn't, because also I thought to myself, well, you know what, I'm Dan Merkin, kind of I can handle a little bit of more volatility, blah, 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 blah. I end up getting out like right here, losing like $600. It totally sucked. And it happened to me. It can happen to everyone. But then I thought to myself, and I'm like, well, here I was. I was looking at it basically, Brad, kind of just like this. So in your mind's eye, you kind of look at it and you're like, wow, this thing goes right here. I mean, the next level is 6. And then you zoom out and you're like, wow, maybe it's even,
Well, I think this stock right here actually hit our radar a couple weeks back on that huge volume day, and it was just something that kind of was top of mind. So when it triggered today, it brought it in.
But here's the thing. So I went and this is the other part that I want to communicate. Oftentimes we mistake statistics for prophecy, and we have to reiterate the fact that statistics are kind of a benchmark. They give you an idea, but to execute on the idea consistently, you still have to work within the game plan of risk management. Risk management is the hardest part of active investing. It's not the picking. We're going to help you get there, but you still have to figure out what works for you. Again, in this case, I'm just saying that I totally played it wrong because I didn't do the simple thing of putting my exit in ahead of time, which easily, by the way, was available to me. I had, 5, 10, 20 minutes that I could have gotten out and not lose $600. Needless to say, Brad, it got me thinking. I thought to myself, well, if I was teaching a lesson about how do I know kind of what scenario is a better odds scenario. And we do a lot of this, obviously, with the AI. But as you and I both know, Brad, the market is a complicated thing. We try to profile different strategies to do different things and capture alpha, and they're all, again, running the numbers. But while that's happening, imagine this. And I'm speaking in metaphors, and Brad, if you think that my metaphors are off, please correct me. But here's kind of the way I look at it. If you think about football, and a lot of our customers are football fans, I know you wear your USC hat often when we golf. So in football, requires a lot of strategy in terms of, like, there's the plays and there's the offense and the defense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a complicated game. You have guys up top in the box who are coordinating with guys on the field, et cetera, et cetera. But yet, obviously, many people understand it, we all get it, and it's played, and it has its rules. But then, what happens when you add an element of rain to it? And mud? It's not so much that everything goes out the window, but it's something that you don't often, let's say, train for. So you have to kind of make, or you have to create on the fly. So here's one of the things that I've noticed, and I'm going to show you how I've approached solving this problem. So to me, one of the things that people ask, how do you know when to get in? And I've often said that there isn't exactly a perfect answer to that, because every person has their own footprint or their own genetical makeup that lets them, it's a feeling. You want to have a feeling, and that feeling is the thing that's going to let you quickly make the decision to go or to not go. Because again, that's the critical thing. There's no magic. You will never have this thing that says, oh, hey, Dan, we must do this. It's kind of like a quick feeling, and you have to act on it. But, Brad, back to the question of SKLN. SKLN, the kind of stock that I bought, is a type of a breakout. As you can see, when I bought it here at 4, it was right here, it was breaking out. And as you said, in my mind, I knew why I bought it, and I still probably would have done the same thing. But I decided to ask myself, well, you know, I made that analogy of the rain and the football. Using technology, how would I ask myself, well, in general, Dan, aside from the exact plays that the AI is giving you, how do I ask myself a question of what's going on with breakouts? So one of the ways I did was I created an alert window. And this is a new high for every stock that's up 2%, trading at 2 times relative volume, has is it 30? I can't even squint. 300,000 shares today, and is 1,000% of its 1 minute and 300% of its 5-minute volume. In other words, what I'm trying to say,
on volume, you look at that, I bet it looks great on every chart. You know,
exactly. This is designed to trick your eyes, because that's what the market does. Every one of these highs will have to look pretty decent by definition. So I went in and I said, and by the way, so what I'm using right now is the odds maker, and this is available to everyone either on a small trial basis when you start with the regular subscription, or to everyone who has AI access. This is what the AI is based on. So I decided to ask myself, if I'm investing, you know, this concept, if I'm testing it from 6:45 to 12, basically, again, I'm trading all day, and I'm going to hold it for 45 minutes, which way is the wind blowing? So I had the software run, and as soon as I'm looking at it, okay, as soon as I'm looking at it, I'm right away saying, man, had I done a little bit of this, you know, I would have kind of known to be just a little bit more cautious on the breakouts in general, because it's not that the system can find all the components to make something like this work, right? But
there's going to be some beautiful ones in there, right? It's just
totally. Like, look, on this day, there's some great ones, right? But this is what I'm talking about, the wind, right? What's the overall weather pattern of the breakout? It's not as good as you would think based on what you saw on the chart. So then I thought to myself again, and I said, okay, Dan, well, how would I retest this concept? So the breakouts don't work, but what's another way to get in if you're not getting in on a breakout, Brad?
You could get in on a pullback.
Exactly. So pullback, and by the way, believe it or not, Brad, we're tying all of this in. This isn't just willy-nilly. All of us are going to get tied in. All of it.
It never is willy-nilly.
Okay, so hold on one second here. I'm changing the name of this so that I look smarter.
But to be fair, while you're doing that, and not to go against anything you're saying, I mean, there are a million different scenarios that you can test on that.
Sure.
Right?
But I'm saying, but Brad, what we're doing on this Q&A webinar is we got to give people an ability to see the forest through the trees and to do some things that, again, number one, a lot of people like to do the least amount of effort, and I'm just saying, take a look at what I'm showing you here, because this will answer a lot of questions for you. So remember what I did. I'm going to redo it just so you can see it here. Simulate by, and it should blow through it right quickly. And we're talking about, by the way, look at how many simulations. This is the power of trade ideas and why you don't see any of this anywhere else on the planet. We have our own data. We do this. This is not anything you're going to get done on TradeStation or Quantopian or anywhere else. So we just went through 1,800 simulations and found out that's a 46% chance. It's worse than a coin flip on the breakouts. Good to know. I'm going to put this away to the right. So I then decided to duplicate this window, and I'm going to show you what I did. Everything is the same. It's up 2%, 300,000 shares, 1,300. But what I said, Brad, I said, instead of chasing, which is what you're doing, like let's be very clear. Every single time that we are buying a breakout, we are assuming that a bigger wave of momentum is coming behind us, right, Brad? Otherwise, I mean, there's no point to do that. So what I said was, okay, instead of doing that, I'm going to let it come to me. Setup's the same, okay?
It's still up 2% for the day, right?
It's still up 2%. It is still, remember, this is still exactly the same. 2%, everything except the difference is to get to that 2%, it was up a little bit more, and it pulled back to the 2%, or wherever it is. In other words, a 75% pullback from highs. Okay? So, same thing, but pullback. Some of the same names will be here.
Let's run it.
I right-click, I backtest the strategy, everything else is the same, and I hit Simulate Buy. And mind you, Brad, there isn't any artificial intelligence in here. We did not do anything here to improve this strategy in any way, shape, or form. But in terms of what you and I do when we're playing golf, which you do a lot better than I do, and I need to pay attention more, this is no different than either looking out, checking your surf report, right, to know what you're, know what you're more likely to get, or if you're on the range, you're picking up some grass and you're throwing it and saying, which way is the wind blowing?
I mean, really, Dan, you just discovered, well, you didn't discover because you knew it, but you illustrated really what the professionals do, right? They're not buying the breakouts. They're buying when things are weak, when they're pulling back in.
Absolutely right. Breakouts, guys, I mean, you have got to have a more field-based kind of experience. Like, I'll tell you who's very good at it. None other than our own Barry Einerson. Barry, and just for anybody who doesn't know, let me pull this back up here. Oops, 1 second. I have so many browser windows. So what we have here is our homepage, okay? And I'm just kind of letting everybody kind of let it sink in what I just said. But we have our trading room, our live trading room, and Barry, who's in the live trading room, and you can go to it by just clicking from the homepage and signing up.
So Dan, if I may interject, guys, if you're new to Trade Ideas and you haven't been here before and you're not familiar with this, if you get one thing out of today's presentation, please listen right here, because this is a free trading room. It's an incredible value.
Right.
Real professionals are occupying it. One of the biggest advantages that we have as a company to help you, the investor, because everybody ought to be thinking about how can we help the investor the most. So we have one simple way that we do it. We provide a completely free trading room that's run by Barry Anderson that has approximately 500 people in it pretty much all day almost.
And it's a group of people that is very actively investing. A lot of you in here probably people who have been in the room. And it's a community that kind of is its own meritocracy, where the community helps each other find opportunities, vet opportunities, and do a little bit of what you and I are kind of doing on this Q&A webinar, where we're going through concepts, thinking them through, and then I'm saying, hey, Brad, does that seem right to you? And you're like, it seems pretty good. It's the same thing in the room. And like Brad said, if there's anything you do, the room is free. It is subsidized by the fact that we run a very successful software business. So that's the way we give back. There are tons of trading rooms out there, and a lot of them are fee-based, and some of them are also great. Ross Cameron, who is a partner of ours, has a great trading room, but that is his business. So we do it a little bit differently. And like Brett said, if that's one of the things that you do this. The other thing that we wanted to make sure everybody knows is, notice there are two options here. This option is to download Trade Ideas Pro, the application that I'm going to be showing more of. And this option right here is to launch TI Web. And we've had a big improvement in the web-based product. And Brad, one of the things that I wanted to do is just kind of showcase the fact that, we're pushing technology in a lot of different places. The browser is one of these places, so you can imagine this you can already run on your iPad, for example. It's not exactly ready for phone because there's too many windows, and we're going to get there, but certainly on an iPad or a laptop, this web-based product is pretty good. And notice you can shrink it, you can do a lot of different things, but other than that, you can do the same stuff that that we do in Trade Ideas Pro, where you click, you can see all things update, and have all the custom windows that we have and all the functionality, but available simply from the browser. And I didn't want to do anything but touch up on the fact that we want to make it easier for you to access this wherever you are, and things like the cloud, they all work on the web-based as well. So you can, for example, have your computer at home where you have a layout, save it to the cloud, open it and launch it in Trade Ideas Web at work through a browser. So lots of different ways that you can do that. Let me minimize this, and we're going to get back to this whole thing right here. So the pullbacks, and Brad, you said, if there's one thing you learn, go to the trading room. If there's another thing that you would like to learn is right now, pullbacks are a better entry point. So here's something else that most people hate to know, Brad. Entry points are really not as critical as you would think. The more you can, of course, be positive instantly, the better. Everybody gets that. But I want to reiterate the fact that it's the money management part that's going to keep you going. And, of course, if you're guessing like a chimp, you're going to die on the entries too. But I just want to say that people over-focus on the entry and not enough focus on money management. The reason that they over-focus on the entry is because it's always easy to say no. And it's kind of, Brad, it's counterintuitive. You think that you're being conservative by saying no, but in reality what's happening is you're letting fear take over, and more than anything, you're missing the opportunities. So here's going back to Skyline. I ended up getting out of it like somewhere right here. Then I watched it for a little while, and I ended up buying it like right at 335, okay? Because I thought to myself, man, I need to be a good example for the people. And
I bet you entered that position, Dan, I bet you entered that position with an idea of where you would exit it if it went against you.
Absolutely. Well, I already had the exit at 325. So one of the other things is, whereas here, just your volatility factor, you've got to, it's like big wave riding. Laird Hamilton can ride some big waves, but then there's that other beautiful phrase from Hawaii that I love when it comes to investing, Brad. If in doubt, don't paddle out. They know. This is the thing. If in doubt with Skyline, don't paddle out. But I'm not in doubt, but you can still be an idiot even if you think you know what you're doing. So I'm just making an example of myself. But then to correct the bad behavior, or rather to not focus on the bad behavior but continue to do something good, when I ran this experiment, just to basically talk to myself, because I knew that I wanted to teach something important during this webinar, and I wanted to put, I mean, not only, as you know, Brad, I actually invest myself. So the Skyline was a real trade, and I'm saying to myself, I have to not be CEO Q&A webinar tutor. I have to be a real user of trade ideas, real investor, which is, again, easy because I am one. But this is how I approach solving the problem. I took a general consensus of breakouts, ran it, and you can do this with anything. So before we jump to the second part of the webinar, Brad, which is, again, going to be talking about letting things come to us, okay? I want to just kind of quickly show that there's a couple of different ways that I could have done it. Like, I don't want people to think that you just completely must only do exactly what I did. Like, you can do it another way. So one of the things that's really nice about trade ideas is you can duplicate any window. So I duplicate this window, I grab it, I right-click, I configure it, and I say to myself, okay, so let's look at some bullish strategies and turbo breaks. Okay, this is one that was done by our friend, by our friend Brad.
Our good friend.
Our good buddy Jamie Hodge, the master of the turbo breaks. This is Jamie's kind of style, and Jamie and I both learned how to trade together, so I know it very well. So this is, as you would suspect, a breakout, and it's going like this. Notice how beautiful this looks? And as we said, they are all going to look beautiful. So I right-click.
You're on history. Okay, you're going to backtest it. Okay.
I mean, we're just going. What I'm saying is this in? One would suspect, right? If you're doing behavior analysis, we would suspect that this and this should kind of have similar results. Yeah. So let's take a look.
Probably a little better.
The better or worse is kind of random, but it's still, notice how, okay, what I want to do is let me show you here. So this was the original one, right? You had more things happen on the turbo brakes. But again, it's nothing that you want to write home to mom about, right? So that's good. So that means that it's like my surf report, my intuition here is right. And by the way, I'm going to use that intuition for trading, you know, tomorrow and the next day as I keep testing these things. So then we can go right here and duplicate this strategy. And this is almost like, you know what, Brad, I mean, I hate to get all fancy, right? But this is almost your own super simplified Monte Carlo. You know what I'm saying? Because what we're doing is we had a hypothesis, right? And now this is kind of like a control group, and now I'm going to do a completely different one where they're the pullback. I mean, everything else can be sort of similar for this window, but I'm going to say, let me see here, select alerts, and let's do a Fibonacci instead. So what we're going to say is this one's coming back. So in this case, it's a little tricky. So this is I'm going to use a Fibonacci 79% buy signal. So it's come up and then come down. Add the alert, get rid of this one, add this one, hit OK, pull back, call this fib. And I'm thinking, again, I don't know, but I'm contemplating the fact that these two should be a little similar. Let's take a look. And I could be totally wrong, but just saying.
Well, look, I think you're showing some good illustration of kind of what Holly does every single day with a lot of different strategies. You know, there's a lot of different variables that can be changed in the strategy to make it more effective, and that's effectively what she's doing. Is she's going through every strategy, looking at each filter, deciding whether to make a change, and hopefully coming out with a better strategy.
Yeah. So these, I don't like seeing that. So this to me How would you interpret that, Brad? I mean, and again, I said it's kind of like, I mean, there's a little bit of randomness there, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more similarities between this and this. Is it because, no, 2%, everything here is the same, and we'll do one more test. How about this pullback? And we'll say instead of the open, from the close. So that's the differential. Oops, why let me change that. And again, what I'm doing here are things that that all of you who have access to the premium part of the technology, all of you have access to this. Okay, so now back test and simulate buy. Let's see. Okay. Interesting. I mean, even better than the other one. So from the open to the close, is it just because we're running through the same exact numbers? Possibly very few trades.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to have fewer trades that are going to meet that criteria than a 75% pullback from the open.
Yeah. So the bottom line is this. Test things out. You can do small tests yourself and find yourself having a perspective that's much more suited to what's happening in the market right now. And again, that's what I did, and I'll send every link that you got, the pullbacks, I'll give them all because I have them all in my cloud, so we'll talk about that after the rest of the webinar. So Brad, let's go to a couple of channels, and I'm going to talk about now what is the best way, okay, the best way to have things come to you. So we've talked about this forever, and the best way to do it is through our own limit of earns. We've kind of talked about this is what the bread and butter, because it's a combination of both. You're always going to have the Holly signals, but Holly is a statistical artificial intelligence. You have a lot of intelligence in you as well. For example, you know, you can see quickly without having any indicators anywhere that this level, because of your eyes gravitate to it, this right here, this, you can just see this stock has been here a bunch. It kind of gravitates to it. It's a level of support. Okay, so these are the, once you can visually start to trust yourself, then you can move on, okay, and start getting an idea of what you want to do. So here's an example. In this case, Tandem Diabetes Care. Let's take a look at it real here. 20 million float. What I do is I kind of said behave. Now I do not categorically not buy breakouts. So this works for both, for what you're trying to do in every direction. The idea is simply set it at a level where you can visually feel the most comfortable. Like, for example, it could be for somebody, you know what, I'm going to minimize this, and until it gets here, it's just not going to be good enough because only now through resistance.
And there's really nothing wrong with setting, you know, multiple price alerts, one to give you that initial notification and the second one for confirmation.
Right, no question. And also, once you, let me, properties, you can also grab the alerts and move them. I can say, oh, I didn't have to go all the way. I can just be right here, 330. So now this is another example of letting it come to me. Here's why. Of course, your mind wants to say, oh, man, you're going to miss it going from 230 to 330. That's a whole point. But the trick is, and the problem is, that you just don't know exactly what it will do here, which is that Brad said, you can set another alert. The interim breakout. So this isn't the champion, this is the interim champion. This is a good time to maybe test, but you could expect like it did here before, that it's going to run into some resistance. All this can do is simply, without a big wave of momentum and without some stuff going on, what's going to happen is it will likely slow down. So this is, to me, a much, better price level, because you're getting right next to where you're going here, and this is what Barry and everybody in our trading room, we kind of call this the void. So the other part of it is that, remember, this is all the things that are possible, right? These are the potential moves. So we are bringing to your attention in this Q&A webinar not only strategy and how to answer questions, but if the fourth thing that you can do here is write down these symbols. If you're already a customer, jot these alerts down, because the beauty of our technology is this. It does nothing for you. There's no problem for you to simply create these alerts, because while it's doing this, you don't need to worry about it. It will let you know when it's time. Okay? So let's look at something else. Here's another example. G satellite float, gigantic float. I saw that this kind of came to my attention because just these 2 days are pretty big days. But let's just go give an example of, here is one where I would say, I'm going to let it come to me first. And I'm going to see this note, and it will remind me. Notice, by the way, because it's lower than the current price, this thing thought that I was going to go short. It tries to be smart. But in this case, you just simply say long and save. And now I've got an 85-cent price alert if GSAT comes to me, because then I'll be much more comfortable than buying it here, where if I get into like 2,000 shares and it pulls back 15 cents, I'm maybe down $400 and be annoyed. So that's just a simple, beautiful example of letting it come to you. Let's take a look.
Another great use of the price alerts is just setting up some early targets and thresholds on the spiders. Put the spiders on your chart, and that way, you don't necessarily need to watch it. And if it starts breaking through, or you're going to get that pop-up alert to let you know.
I mean, one of the things that we always talk about is the stock market is a place for seeing opportunities that you're not going to see anywhere else in any other market, because also you can see them in things like Bristol Myers, which is a gigantic company that's not going bankrupt any time, and it can go from 74 to 62 on drug problems, and then trade all the way down to 49. And again, this is a place where you could be picking this stuff up. And if it starts to go again, I mean, here you're having a company that's a gigantic cash generator. These are. I always say that, is this just for day trading? No, because if you're long, let's say you bought 400 shares here. Look at this thing go. I mean, if you were able to wait through this and not get out, you now have confidence, Brad, that this could be continuing to go. So I would be feeling very bullish on Bristol Myers, and I'm going to approach it.
65, it's a rocket ship.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to approach it in two ways. I'm going to say that here's a way for letting it come to me. Pulling back would be great. Again, right in this area, you could almost, I wouldn't buy a lot, because again, if something happened, it could also come down pretty quick to here, but it would be a feeler trade, and my exit would be below. So again, if it started to not work against me, I would just get out below 54.84, and it would be an easy trade. Now, if I move it back here, you're seeing kind of a different picture. Above this price level, like right here, that's above 65, we're in sprinting zone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an alert at the whole number 60, and I'm going to say whole number break. So, Brad, one of the things that I really like that we do on these Q&A webinars is specifically what we are doing here, because creating a process and a methodology should not be rocket science. We should not be doing calculus and vector graphics and all this stuff that people put in their minds as a precursor to success in the stock market. It's just not the way that it is. Create a simple process. Let things come to you in either direction. And of course, we have AI that we know will work. I mean, it's going to learn what happened today and most likely improve from there. But this simple process, the process that I'm doing here, this is something that everyone can do. You can just do it, and this is what's going to keep you successful because it gets you engaged. And the other thing, Brad, that I think is most often overlooked about this process is notice the time. It's 2:44. What does that mean? The market's over. My emotions, which you have to keep all of your emotions for the money management side, because again, that's the most difficult side. It's so fluid to be able to place these price levels here because your mind sees what it needs to see. You know, like here, you can just say, get back here.
I mean, you're right, Dan. It creates it gives you a great opportunity to do this stuff after hours or in the evening, but don't dismiss the fact that it is so easy to do that in real time. You could be in the middle of a trade, you see something and pop, you put your alert up and you just move on. It's part of your routine.
Right. And this is the other thing, the trick that in SATs, test takers constantly create answers that fool students. The idea is you want to find the people that can see the trick and then do better and get into the better schools. Brad was one of those people, and I cheated off of them, so everything ended up working just fine. But to make a long story short, right here, don't worry about missing all of this because you didn't miss it. Now is the time. It only looks like it would have gone just straight up the way it went straight down, but it might take like 4 months to get there. But once it gets out of this level, the real test's going to come, and that's when, you know, you're in a potential of a completely new 52-week high. And by the way, again, lots of different things happen at these levels. You know, we're not talking about that it's all easy, but notice through this line that we drew right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's been some gravity here, so it could easily come back. And right here, if you go actually above, go all the way to 10, that means some news or some event-driven thing is happening, and this potentially could be longer-term swing trade for you. Brad, any thoughts? Agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's definitely saying it.
And ultimately, what I want to show is, again, perspective and confidence. So I was talking to somebody today, and we were discussing the fact that, why are you not? Come on, Cloud. Okay, there you are. And we were discussing the fact that it has not been as easy on the AI side as it has been like the week before, where it was almost like printing money. And it made me realize something, that again, take a look at this picture here. There is, the AI does what it is supposed to do. The AI isn't emotional about it. You could have made some significant money if you were brave enough and if you could have seen some of the things that I didn't see myself either, because again, I was chasing Skyline and some of the other stocks, but the money just happened to have been on the downside. And we had these strategies running. They were just engulfed in other long strategies, which was a hit or miss. And was much more difficult. But look at what was available to you. And this is kind of the mental exercise that I wanted to say, look, here, risk on, and I'm going to change this real quick just so you can see all the strategies. Okay, so this is all of them. So, am I missing something? Oh, I forgot. Oops, sorry. Active strategies, all strategies. Here we go. So, the AI basically made like almost all of the money at the end on the short side. Okay, there's just quite a bit on power hour short and some of the wait for the eights. The problem, of course, was that the long side was tricky. And that's the thing, guys, is that there isn't an oracle that's going to tell you do this or not do that. I mean, look at the kind of candles that you were seeing today. This is what I talk about when, when I was discussing, where did I put that? When I was discussing this kind of choppy water. That's what it looks like. This is this. It's a difficult environment where you will be tested emotionally and financially. The way you get over that is twofold. Okay? You let things come to you, which is what we're doing here by putting in price levels on things that you know are coming to you, and then be just very like light and small. So if you're trading the AI, down your share size until things start to get a little bit easier, because again, right now the volatility is very high. So even guys like myself, it's very easy to have 1 or 2 weeks where things aren't perfect. We always work to improve it, but it's just the name of the game. So the best you can do is invest in some of this homework, where you look at stocks and you decide, do I want something here or not? And it's so interesting that, again, in hindsight, Skylines, there's no problem. You just needed to have it at an area where it can congest. So, Brad, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get back and I'm going to let Scott finish up for the end with the promo codes, and you and I can answer any questions while all of this is happening.
You bet. So there aren't any questions in right now that haven't been answered. So guys, if you have any questions, now would be your time to put them in the question window.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Scott, if you've got your mic, I'm going to mute myself and let you kind of go through this part of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, use the questions panel now. Dan and Brad will give you their undivided attention there. As a way to thank everyone for attending, there's a product code that gives a discount. You can also find a handout in your GoToWebinar handouts panel. Just locate where it says handouts on your interface there, click the plus, and there's a download link right there for a PDF. And it has a reminder of this as well as our contact information. So the code BYHOLLY, all caps like you see it, takes 15% off your first month or year of premium, or 10% off the first month or year of standard. Now, both premium and standard include all of your exchange fees. It includes access to our web-based version. It includes the charting that we added this year. It also includes, both also include full hour of one-on-one training. So as soon as you sign up, go to our support section and locate the training and select the best time and date out of that calendar interface with Steve Gomez, Andy Lindloff, or Jamie Hodge. They'll be happy to help you with a full hour of one-on-one training to get you up and going, teach you how to get your layout set up, all that good stuff. And the premium version adds the AI, the Investment Discovery Engine, Holly, as well as unlimited backtesting using our event-based backtesting module, the Odds Maker, and other new goodies like the price alerts window that are shareable price alerts. That's been a very popular feature since we added it, and other advanced windows like red bar ignore, green bar ignore. That 15% off is a great discount. By Holly's the code. Trade-ideas.com/price is where to go. So if you have any questions at all, though, you should email us at info@trade-ideas.com. Or you can reach Dan directly. He's Dan at, Brad is Brad at. Follow us on Facebook. Like us there at Trade Ideas Pro on Facebook.com, and we post some different content there sometimes. Dan Merkin is Trade Ideas 1 on Twitter. Our regular account on Twitter is Trade Ideas. You can also find Jamie Hodge at QuantBot, Steve Gomez at Today Trader. There's a whole bunch of locations, but if you want to follow Dan and his antics, it's Trade Ideas 1. Phone number's there if you have any subscription or support issues during normal business hours on the West Coast. However, if you have technical questions or questions about trading, wondering whether or not you can link with the platform, those type of things, just email info@trade-ideas.com for that stuff, and it gets routed to the appropriate team member who has all the answers for you. So thanks, everyone. We'll have the recording up later tonight or tomorrow morning, and you get an email tomorrow with the email address you registered for with a reminder of what playlist to find this replay at. So,
hey Scott, there's a couple of questions I'm just going to answer real quick.
Sure.
Troy, the discount code is for the first month, or if you're doing the year, it's for the whole year. So that's what the discount code is. The renewables, if you renew after that, it's all at the regular price. The thing that everybody should kind of be aware of in terms of the subscriptions is that we have always raised prices, and we will continue to do so. So you do get, when you subscribe, you get grandfathered to the price. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, it looks like there's a question from Chris who's kind of asking about Brokerage Plus. Maybe you can pop that window up and I can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, let me do that real quick.
I don't know what version you're running here, but we're getting really close to releasing this. It's been in test for the last couple of weeks, but this is our automated trading bot, if you will. It's called Brokerage Plus, and it allows you to connect directly with interactive brokerage, and you're able to take any alert window that can be crafted inside of Trade Ideas, and you can drop it right in here for either black box execution or gray box execution. You can have it automatically get you into positions, and you can then manage them, or you can have it completely, manage your position from start to finish. And it gives you a nice P&L graph, kind of similar to what you see with Holly on the AI window, but lets you know exactly how your positions are doing, but gives you also that historical reference of how your positions have been doing relative to right now. So it's a pretty slick little interface for managing the positions. And in addition to that, you can also get manual with it, double your positions, and manipulate the position size as well as use the order entry panel. So we think this will, we're getting pretty close, probably first of the year, end of this month.
Yeah, so Chris, don't use the ActiveX Java version. The API we would discuss offline. It's not available for in standard subscription form. It's more on an enterprise basis. But again, if you're going to be doing anything on the automated side, Brokerage Plus, what Brad is showing you here, it should cover all of your needs because it in essence is a connection to all of our data. So everything that you do, you can create a strategy and fully automate it with stops and exits, and then there's let me see here. Where's the?
Yeah, and it's not an entirely new piece.
Which one is the one where you can see the where you set up the strategy?
Yeah, go to Strategies tab. Pop that in there. I think you already have one in there, right? Just go to your Strategies tab and right-click. There you go. Yep, that'll do it.
Okay, so here you can kind of see.
So yeah, Chris, we're starting this with IB, but we do have plans of adding many more brokers to this.
Yeah, we're gonna have one of our big pushes is creating more brokerage access so that more people can trade Holly on different brokerages. 100%.
Yeah, and not just Holly and not just any type of automated strategy, but anything that you see in a Trade Ideas window, really making it super easy to get right to the execution.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, so this is again similar to the odds maker, but a lot more things you can do. Very powerful technology, and the idea is keep it simple, stupid. Just like here, you can create, the alerts. And it's like you become a part of the AI yourself, because your eyes can see some good things, but they kind of need to be in a nice frame of mind without all the emotion and BS.
So Dan, we had one other question about automating Holly. And as I said in the chat, right now Holly cannot be automated. We don't provide the strategies for you that you can drop into an automated interface, but it is something we're always considering.
It is concise, something we're considering, and we might have a very interesting hybrid solution to that, but I can't discuss it because it's all under super secret DARPA type of stuff. All right, everyone, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing you in the live trading room, and if you're not a subscriber yet, take a look. It's something you're going to want to see. Thank you, and take a look at our other webinars as well, and good luck investing. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.